There are many people that have extreme self-confidence but don't actually have the talent. And there are many people that have the talent but are mentally fragile. So how can you know if on whatever pursuit you're on, if you actually have the talent, if you actually have what it takes, what is required to make it to the highest level? Do you have that talent? Let's find out. How do you determine whether or not you actually have the talent or if it's just a mental problem? So I'm going to explain it and I'm going to go over it now. I'm going to give an example of my own life to start. So I'm a footballer. For those of you who don't know, I have a football trial coming up in the next few days. And this week I'm going to kind of be talking all about my football life rather than anything else. But I'm still trying to ask and I struggle with the question myself. Am I actually talented? Do I have raw talent, or is everything that I have made, is it just a byproduct of all my hard work? This is a question I'm still trying to answer. And I think the best indicator of whether or not you actually have talent is, what do you do when there's zero pressure? When there's zero pressure, if you're in just a game and you're balling out and you're just dribbling through everyone, which is what I do. I'm not gonna lie. Or if you're playing a musical instrument and you play like the perfect song when you're by yourself in your room with no one watching. Or you're a singer and it's the same thing. You hit all the notes when no one's watching. That's really, I think, a good indicator of what your talent actually is. Some people, they have the talent. It is there, and they have that kind of raw thing, but they make mistakes. And then when people look at their mistakes, they deduce that they don't actually have any talent. But really, they make the mistakes not because of their lack of talent, but their lack of mental stability and mental strength in pressure situations. They crumble under the pressure. And for me personally, that's what it's really been for my whole life. I think for myself, when I was a kid, a skinny, scrawny soccer player with goggles on, I actually sucked. I think that I would deduce that I actually was not a good player. I had no talent. And most of the talent I've built has been through just my hard work and the experiences I've gone through. But there's also been an incredible mental breakthrough as well throughout my life. There's still a lot to work on. But back then my mental state was terrible. It was so perhaps I wasn't talented at all, and mentally I sucked, and I just, like, mentally I was bad, and actually as a player I was bad. So I was just a terrible player. I just sucked, just plain and simple. Whereas I think I've built that up. There are people like that where there are people like that on the extreme. There are people that are so extremely self-confident, but they're not actually very talented, but their self-confidence is what gets them over the line. Sometimes it can be a good thing, but it can also be a bad thing. And I've played with a lot of players like this where they're actually not very good, but their self-confidence kind of becomes like an arrogance. And that leads to a lot of problems on the field, because then I'd make a mistake or someone else would make a mistake. They'd be the first person to yell at them, scream at them, insult them, get mad at them, talk to them in the dressing room, not in a respectful way. And then when they'd get the ball, they wouldn't do anything special with it either. But those types of people, sometimes it can be a bad thing, and I've been in teams, I've played with players where it was exactly like that, but also it can be a great thing. If your self-confidence is not a negative thing, like you're not seeing yourself as better than everyone else, you know where you're at, like you know that you don't have the talent, but it's your mentality and your hard work that gets you through. It can actually make you so much better. It can make you play on the field or play the instrument or play whatever sport you're doing and look like you have the talent. It can make you look like you do, because you're confident, so you're not making mistakes. You're taking those risks. You're doing those things that a lot of people wouldn't be doing because of your confidence, not necessarily because of your talent. When you're not under pressure, when you're not under pressure, it's the same. What you do is kind of the same when you're not under pressure. You can maybe even make the argument that when not under pressure, you actually have less output than when you're under the pressure. There's people like that. And that's, I think, kind of what we're all trying to achieve. Have it either be, you have to play the exact same way when you're not under pressure versus when you are under pressure. That's kind of the mental barrier you have to overcome when trying to reach big things. For me, in my football journey, it's been like a slow increase where I'm starting to see that slowly they're merging. Before, for the longest time, what I would do when I'm under no pressure was so completely different to when I was under pressure. When I had, like, there was times where when I'm under no pressure, I'm the best player on the field, like I'm dribbling through everyone, I'm doing amazing. And when under pressure, when in a real game, when in a real training session, I fumble, I make mistakes, I get mad at myself, I have negative self-talk, I get sad, I cry at the end of games, like when I was a kid. And that would be the case. So that's why I'm kind of fighting with this idea. Did I actually have talent from the beginning and it was just a mental barrier I had to overcome, or did I actually have no talent and I slowly built it up? And I built my mentality as well as my actual physical talent with the ball at my feet, like kind of simultaneously. I don't really know the answer to that question, but I think that there are two types of people when it comes to whether or not you actually have talent. It's the person that can utilize it and the person that can't. You have the person that's so actually is there four types of people? I'm trying to wrap my head around this idea myself. I call this the talent complex. And that's what I'm going to title the video probably. You have the person that okay, yeah, no, I think there's four types of people. So I'm going to actually break this down. Like kind of as I'm thinking about this in real time, it makes more sense to do it like this. You have the person that has talent. With the person that has raw talent, like when they're off the field, when they're outside of the realms of pressure, you perform brilliantly. You have that person, the person that has that talent and is able to translate it into when you're under pressure. If you're able to translate it to when you're under pressure so that what you're doing when under no pressure is the same as what you're doing under pressure, those are the people that probably make it. Those are the people that make it big, whether as an athlete or as a musician or as, I don't know, whatever it may be, right? As an intellectual person, a scholar, whatever the goal may be. There's a person that has talent and they're able to translate the skills into pressure situations. So they have the talent and they also have the mental capacity and the mental strength and fortitude. Then there's the person who has the talent but struggles to translate it. When under pressure, they crumble often. They make mistakes. They show the appearance that they actually don't have the talent because of the mistakes they made, but in reality, it's a mental thing. That's really where I think I fall in the most, is the fact that I have the talent, but I struggle to translate it. I'm getting better. I'm getting better as I go along, and hopefully on this trial, this football trial, I start to see some real fruits of my labor in that regard, the mental training. But that's where I kind of put myself. But that's where a lot of people who fall short of making it, that's where they fall. They have the talent, but they just couldn't wrap their heads around what it takes mentally to get there. And then you call them wasted potentials. But in reality, you can't really judge them so harshly because the mental thing is the hardest thing to get over. You can have all the talent in the world, but if you can't translate it, it doesn't matter how much talent and it doesn't matter how much hard work you put in. It's really about the mental capacity of dealing with pressure that is the real separator. And then you have the people with no talent. So those are the first two frames. You have the people with no talent. People with no talent. You have the person who has no talent but has extreme self-confidence, that works super hard, that thrives under pressure. This person also has a huge chance of making it to be great. Because, as you say, you know the saying, hard work beats talent when talent fails to work hard. But if talent is working hard, then the person that doesn't have talent is kind of going to be cut off. If the person with talent is working hard and is able to translate that talent into good things, they'll still beat the guy that doesn't have talent but is working hard. That's how that is, right? But the person that is not talented, that works hard, that has huge self-confidence, will defeat a lot of the talented people that are struggling to put it into practice when when they're under pressure, and struggling to, or even getting cocky with their talent and letting that slip, make their hard work slip. So you have that person who doesn't have talent but is able to step up the level, or is working hard to slowly build that talent, or build as much as he possibly can. I personally have an aspect of that myself, I would say, as well. The no talent but building it up. But it's the ability to translate it into pressure situations. And then you have the person that doesn't have talent and doesn't have the right mentality and can't translate it. And those are the people that just kind of suck. And that was me. That was certainly was me when in the past when I was a kid. But it is a lot of people. We have these big dreams. Sometimes we just can't wrap our heads around it. But I really do think that if you're asking the question, can you build talent? Like right now we're asking the question, do you have talent? How can you determine if you have talent or not? Right? You have to find the issues. If you're on a big pursuit, you have to look at what you're doing wrong. If you're a guitar player and when you're practicing in your house, you play this perfect, beautiful song with no mistakes, and then when you get into the competition, you make mistakes and you fail and you lose, then you can easily say, okay, it's not a talent problem, because when not under pressure, I'm amazing. It's a mentality problem, not a talent problem. It's a dealing with pressure, coping with the high stakes. That's the problem, and that's the barrier you have to overcome. And more often than not, it is actually that. More often than not, there's a level of talent you have, but it's the mental barrier you have to overcome to achieve the great successes that you're dreaming of achieving. Or if you're saying that when you're when you're not in those pressure situations, you're still failing, you're still tripping, you're still messing up, then that means you don't really have talent. You have to put in extra work to build up that talent, because it is possible to work and build talent up. But you know that if you're struggling in practice and then in the competition you're still struggling because you're just kind of the same, it might not be a mentality thing. It might just be because you need to improve your level. So you have to figure that out with yourself and kind of wrap your head around it. Understand what your talent complex really is so that you know how much work you need to be putting in. If you don't have the talent and you recognize that, you got to put in 2 times, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, even 10 times the amount of work as the person that does have talent. You have to know that. You have to understand that. That's how you're going to even get close to matching their level, to fulfilling that quote by Michael Jordan, hard work beats talent when talent fails to work hard. You need to work 10 times as hard if you don't have that talent. If you have the talent and you work hard, that's a great combination, and you're setting yourself up for something good. It's really all about the mentality. I think the biggest lesson of this entire idea, the entire talent complex, is the fact that talent is a super, super important part of achieving a great thing, of becoming an athlete, of becoming a musician, of becoming a writer, of becoming a scholar, whatever it may be. Contrary to popular belief, you need to be talented to achieve big things. You can build that talent through hard work, but there has to be a level of talent, because, like, you just think about it logically. Like, if you're not good at something, you're never going to make it to that level. If you are good at that thing, like, it's a requirement for you to make it big to be good at that thing. To be a professional soccer player, you have to be good at the sport. Just by definition, you can't show up and be terrible and expect to make it. You're not gonna. And I have the same. Again, I know I've played with players like that as well, where they really do suck. Like, they're just bad players. And I feel for them, but they kind of don't really realize that they're not very good. They have that kind of extreme self-confidence, but they're not actually good enough, and they have to be working even harder, and they don't realize that, really. Like, I've played with players exactly like that. So you have to be good. If you're not good, and after hours and hours and weeks and months and years of hard work, you still can't be at the point where you can be confident in your abilities, then that means that you just don't have it. And sometimes you just don't have it. Sometimes talent is just this natural thing that you're gifted with. And then you have to, you have to understand that it's not going to work out. But I think in the majority of the cases, it is possible to build talent for yourself. That with repetition in soccer, just, passes, shooting, dribbling, constantly repeating the motions. In basketball, free throws. In baseball, swinging and throwing. Practicing those motions over and over and over again, day by day by day by day. Over time, if you're not talented, you can build that talent up. But there are some people that can't because you just don't have it. Some people just don't have it. Maybe they have like funky mechanics and your body just doesn't work. Like you can't really kick a ball properly just because of your mechanics. It happens. It happens. It's absolutely normal. You shouldn't be mad at yourself for it. You should just accept that and look to do something that is able to get the most out of your mechanics. Find the thing that you're talented in. There's always something, I'm sure, that you can find that you're actually talented in. It might not be that athletic pursuit. It might not be that musical pursuit, but it might be something else. You got to go explore those things. You got to go try and experiment and find those dreams and find those things that you really have that thing. You really have it. Sometimes it is just about having it. But in my opinion, the vast majority of the time, you can develop talent by hard work. You can start off not having talent and then develop that talent. That is personally where I'm at now. I've developed myself to being a good player. Like I look at myself and I'm confident that me as a soccer player, I am a good player. Do I have enough? Do I have it? Or do I have just what it takes, the talent level to make it professional? I think that's what I'm going to find out in the coming weeks. And regardless of what happens, at least I know where I stand. But I think I'm the best player I've ever been, but even still, on the last trial, I didn't make it. So I have to kind of think, okay, I'm talented, I'm good, but is it good enough? Or am I still falling short? Is there a level where I'm just never going to be able to make it because I just don't have enough of it? As much hard work as I put in, as many repetitions as I put in, as much as I've developed and as good of a player as I've become, it might just be a case of I just don't have that thing to push me over the line. Or even mentally, I might have the problem. I know what I have to deal with. I know the issues I have, and that is what I'm going to be working on this trial to prove to them that I can get through these issues and I can break these barriers and truly be a good player in those pressure situations, which is really what matters most. So that's going to be what I'm going to be dealing with. But with what you need to kind of focus on is figure out if you got the talent. And then you have to figure out how much more work you need to put in. No matter what, you got to work hard. Even if you have talent, you have to work hard. But know that if you have to work hard or if you have to work 10 times hard as the average person because of your talent levels. Sometimes that is God's plan for you. Sometimes like the dream that you have is just something that you don't have the talent to back up. But it's the biggest test to say, all right, are you willing to put in that extra work? And if you do, it is possible to build your talent up. That's the beauty of it. That is the beauty of God's gifts to each and every one of us. Talent sometimes is a God-given gift, but at other times it's something that you've built up through constant hard work. And then at that point, you have to worry about your mentality, how it can actually translate, right? Pressure situations versus non-pressure situations. I think that is the biggest indicator of whether or not you have talent, is what you're doing when you're under no pressure. If you're under no pressure and you're still kind of aren't very polished up, then you know what you need to work on. And being successful in whatever pursuit you're on, for me as a footballer, for any athletic pursuit, and whatever other creative pursuit, the arts, music, whatever it may be, you need to be able to bridge that gap between pressure and non-pressure. The talent that you have in non-pressure situations needs to be shown and seen by breaking through those mental barriers in the pressure situations because once you manage to make it through that barrier, you're putting yourself up in a good position. You're setting yourself up in a position that is giving you a good chance of actually making it. So as for me, I have no idea if the talent I have is enough talent to make it there, because it's a whole other level. I can be better than all the people around me. I can be better than a bunch of people in pickup games. I can be better than people at my old club, like a low division team. But am I on the level or better than the people that are at the professional level? That's a whole other can of fish that I gotta figure out. And we're gonna figure that out in a couple weeks when I actually am in the midst of it and I'm seeing how I compare and how I compete with the people around me. So to wrap up, to conclude this episode about talent and what it means to be talented, how you can build up your talent, this is what I would say. There are some people that have talent. There are some people that don't have talent. There are some people that have such little talent that it's not possible for them to ever be good enough. And sometimes that's the case. But I think maybe 90% of people are in that. They don't really have a lot of talent, but it's easy to build it up. So that is my confidence building, comforting message to you, is that on whatever pursuit you're on, even if you're not very good right now, the beauty of it all is that you can work to be good. You can work and put in the repetition and put in the reps and continue grinding to be good, and you will make it to a certain level of being good. And if you get good enough, you will be able to make it to those great things. The vast majority of us are there. Like, it's a small percentage of people that just have bad mechanics and just can't do it. They just don't have talent and they can't build it up. And there's probably an even less amount of people that just have that natural God-given talent to be, from like, like from a soccer example, be like 8 years old and be the best player on the field, and then get signed to a professional academy from 8 years old and be developed into a professional player from a young age. I was never given that because I never had that. I was and perhaps still am in that category of people that don't have the natural talent but can build it up through hard work. But now I look at myself and say, yeah, I have that talent. That talent is there because I see what I do in non-pressure situations, and I'm like, dude, yeah, I'm good. So it's the next step is building that mentality to be able to translate it to the pressure situations. Which throughout my life as a kid, I had horrible time trying to do that. Now I'm getting better at it, still with struggles, still with problems, still with things to overcome. But I'm confident that I'll get there, and I'm confident that I'll do very, very well on this trial. So that is really my message to you, is that you're probably in that same position, regardless of what pursuit you're on. You're in that same position where you don't have natural talent, but you can build it. You can build it up through hard work. So you need to know that you got to work extra hard to make it happen, but it is possible. It's not impossible to make it to those great dreams. You just have to put in extra work if you're not given that gift of talent. And then you slowly build yourself up. You get to the point where you do have good talent, and then you have to work on the mentality in order to translate that good talent to where it matters most. Because at the end of the day, coaches, judges, scouts, and whatever other person that's evaluating you as a player, as a performer, as whatever pursuit you're on, the people evaluating you are going to be looking at what you're doing in those pressure situations. Again, as I said before, you can be good and make mistakes, and then they'll overlook you. They'll overlook you because your talent means nothing because you made those mistakes. And the mistakes cost you your place at the top. It cost you your place to actually achieve those dreams. So don't let that be you. Don't be the person that you don't want to be, the person that is so good off of the field and outside of the zone of pressure. And once you get into that high pressure situation, that high stakes situation, you crumble and you make mistakes, and you basically, you're giving off the appearance that you're not very good. But in reality, you are good. It's a mental thing. So you don't want to be that person that you look like you're not good, but in actuality, you're good. And me personally, I'm speaking from experience because I was that person. there were moments in my life and in my career where yeah, I was good, but I'd make mistakes. So even my own teammates would start to question me, I'd not actually be good. So you don't want to be that. You want to be able to get over those mental barriers. And I understand mistakes happen, but sometimes at the highest level, you can't afford the mistakes, right? I'll give you an example. Just look at Loris Karius. He was a good goalkeeper. He was a good goalkeeper. No one really realizes that. He was a good, solid goalkeeper for Liverpool. But then he made those two horrible, horrible errors in the Champions League final. And he never got that back. No one let it, he became the laughing stock. He became a meme. He got cast out of his team. And he was playing in like mid-table teams in Turkey and in countries that don't have good leagues. And he became the third choice goalkeeper for Newcastle. And now he's and I don't know where he is now, but I'm pretty sure he's a backup keeper playing for some crappy team. He basically lost all of his potential in his career because of one mistake, because of just not mentally being switched on for the biggest moment. But at the end of the day, you can't really afford to be making those mistakes in those types of a game, and it will cost you your career, most likely. So become mentally strong. It doesn't matter how much talent you have. It's good to know that you have a good foundation for talent, but become mentally strong by constantly putting yourself in difficult situations. If you're able to do that, you're able to grow constantly each and every day. You will get to that point where you're able to thrive under pressure. Once you get to that point where you're able to thrive under pressure, you're going to be good, and you're going to keep riding that wave until you get to the top. So I'm rooting for you, right? Hopefully you're rooting for me also, because I'm going to be going on this trial, and I'm going to be pursuing and doing these exact things that I'm talking about to try and go and ride that wave and reach the top. So I hope you're rooting for me. I'm certainly rooting for each and every one of you on whatever journeys you're going on and whatever difficulties you're going through and whatever hard work you have to put in, whatever grind and whatever montage and grind mode journey you got to go through to make it to your greatest dreams. I'm rooting for you on that journey. So I'll be with you guys through it all. I'm hoping that you guys are with me through mine as well. If you've made it this far, I really do appreciate you. I appreciate you for watching. I appreciate you for your support. Show your support by liking the video, by leaving a comment, letting me know what you thought, letting me know where your talent levels are. What do you have to improve on? Truly do those reflections. Let me know. I really like hearing from you guys. And if you haven't yet, subscribe to me on YouTube, follow me on Spotify, and go check out all the other great videos that I've made. I've made a few very good videos recently talking about the preparations to this professional football trial that I'm going on. So I invite you to continue with me on this journey. Continue with me on this journey. Continue to be there, and you'll learn so many great things for yourselves as to what it will take from you to achieving whatever great thing and whatever great big pursuit and dream that you want to achieve. So thank you for watching. Thank you for being here. Always remember that talent is necessary. There is a necessary point of talent that you need to make it. You can't have no talent and make it. It's really not possible. But know that it is also possible to build up talent. That some people have talent but can't translate it into games and into pressure situations, and other people don't have talent but become better under pressure. You need to find somewhere in between where you're kind of keeping it the same, or you want to be better in those pressure situations. You need to have that mental strength. Talent really is nothing without the hard work that needs to accompany it and the mental strength to apply your talent into tough situations. So that is really what you got to be aiming for when you're trying to reach those great goals. So thank you for watching this video. Thank you for being here, and I'll see you tomorrow for the next episode.